We're talking about Lagabi Oirin Saf, Lamaila Maila Den Ketz, Lamata Mata Den Tachlis. There are these multiple tzimtzumim to bring that out in the multiple levels and multiple worlds and so on. And that's why when the Rebbe brought from his father, that when it says in the Zohar Parshas Truma, it uses multiple expressions for tzimtzum, it's because it's really referring to the fact that there's many different levels of tzimtzum. Okay, on an Ois Gimel, V'hinei, Al-Pi Maimer Hazal, according to what the Chazal say, Bereishis, Bishvil Yisrael, Shenikru Reishis, that what's the meaning of Bereishis? There is those that are called the Reishis, Yisrael are called the Reishis, and for the sake of Yisrael that are called the Reishis, was created the world. Now, the creation of the world, before there's the creation of the world, there is the tzimtzumim that enable that. So in other words, the part of the process of creation means that Hashem had to make many tzimtzumim, and those many tzimtzumim were also done for the sake of Yisrael. It says, Harei Muvan, so it's understood, line 18, Shakal Ribe Tzimtzumim, all the multiple tzimtzumim that we spoke about earlier, Shakal Bishvil, all of them is for the sake of Yisrael. Like it's explained in Tanya, concerning the goal and the purpose of all the tzimtzumim, he speaks about in Perik Memtes, it's all because of Hashem's love for the person down here below. Because of that, because Hashem loves us down here below, that's why he made the tzimtzum la'aloisoi la'Hashem, because he loves a person so much, so he constricted himself to be able to bring the person up to him. The expression of Chazal is that ava, love, causes the flesh to get pressed. In this case, pressing indicates tzimtzum, that Hashem Kaviyachol squeezed himself, pressed himself because of his love. Therefore, it's understood gam his bonus bepratem tzimtzumim. Also meditating and contemplating on the specifics of the tzimtzumim, not just knowing generally, there's a tzimtzum Hashem made to come down to the world, but thinking into the details of the tzimtzumim. Like it's brought down Shaykh the Mittler Rebbe, that we need to also contemplate in the detailed matters of the tzimtzumim, like we said before. How do we contemplate on something that's totally beyond us? How do we understand things about the Eibishter that is way beyond our level? That's by things that we realize that from my flesh I'll perceive godliness. The way he meditates in these matters, the way he contemplates the matters of the tzimtzumim, is by thinking about and contemplating the way they are in a person, and through that understanding the way they're by Hashem. How is that a person contemplating on the way they are by the person down here should affect and influence the way it is by Hashem? So he says, because Atam Krim Adam. It says that you, the Jewish people, are called Adam. Why are they called Adam? Al Shem Adam Elyon. It says in Navi Yeshaya, I am likened to above. So a person is called Adam because of similarity to above. So because we are similar to above, by thinking into things the way they are in ourselves, I say, for my flesh, I'll perceive godliness, because it's not completely without any connection. The entire Adam, the entire person, was really created in such a way to be similar to above. So that's why, through thinking into the person, you could appreciate the way it's above. So now he's going to speak about the idea of tzimtzum, the way we compare it and we contemplate on it and we understand it from us down here. last line on the third page, line 29. The idea behind this is, like Baal Shem Tov explains in Kesser Shem Tov, Shakadosh Baruch Hu also kama tzimtzumim, that Hashem made many tzimtzumim, top of page Lamed. Derech kama oilmos, via many worlds. He made these tzimtzumim through many worlds. Kedei sheyiyah achdus im Adam, so that there should be a unity, a oneness between Hashem and a person. The person who cannot handle Hashem's brilliance, brightness. So that's why Hashem had to make the tzimtzumim through many worlds, so they should be able to join with the person. So now the Rebbe adds that the emphasis on the words of the Baal Shem Tov is achdus. The term that Baal Shem Tov uses is achdus, which is much more powerful than what could have been said. V'hainu, the Rebbe says, this means line 3. Through all the constrictions, it's not just that the person can receive the light, but that the light should be over there and the way of unity, of oneness, especially it's explained in the Amorim of the Rabbeim that explained the statement of the Baal Shem Tov, what is the difference between Achdus and to be Makabel. I didn't look up those Amorim, but in a very simple sense, if you receive something, you can receive it, you can contain it, but it's not necessarily joined. If you pour water in a cup, so yes, you need to have a limited amount of water so that it should be able to be received in the cup. If you flood it, nothing is going to go into the cup. If you want to fit in a item of clothing, if you want to put a glove on your hand, so because you have very well-shaped and formed 5 fingers, it could fit into the 5 slots in the hand. But if a person would not have the fingers set up that way, so there would not be this idea of it coming into the person's hand, being able to fit into the glove. But that is only as far as receiving. That's not as far as becoming joined. The water doesn't become joined with the cup. The hand doesn't become joined with the glove. We don't say that the glove is now alive because the hand is in it, or the hand is alive, because there's no union between them. On the other hand, the neshama, when it becomes enclosed in the hand, does become joined with the hand to such a degree that we call the hand a living hand. The hand is alive. Why? The hand by itself has no life to it. The neshama is the one that's alive. But since the neshama is not just being received by the hand, but it's joining with the hand, therefore we could call the hand being alive. That's just one way of looking at the distinction between to be able to receive it or to be able to come joined with it. So that's what it means that when Baal Shem Tov says that Hashem made many tzimtzumim through many worlds, so that a person that ordinarily would not be able to handle the brilliant light of Hashem should be able not to receive, he doesn't say, but to be able to become joined with Hashem. That's the powerful thing that Hashem wanted, that for that he made all these tzimtzumim. So he says in line 7, more specifically, like explained in the books of the Mezritch Magid in the beginning, that Hashem Kaviyachol constricted his brilliance, his brightness, similar to a father that constricts his intellect, and he speaks matters of childishness, for his small child. And not only does he constrict his mind, which in some ways it's easier to understand, but v'gam kol midos ma'asen naris noildim ba'av, that all the emotions of actions of childishness are now created within the father. Which means he loves, he enjoys the childishness, so that the child should have delight. In other words, let's say a father sits down to play a game with his child. The child's a little child. What could he play with him? Whatever. He can build blocks with him. He can play with him some type of board game. He can play with him some with toy stuffed animals. But the father is so invested in it that it's not just he's doing this completely superficially and his emotions are not there. No. He's fully invested in it, not just he's using his intellect to be able to figure out how to play the game or to make it something that the child would enjoy. His own emotions are now invested in it. He laughs with the kid, he enjoys it, he's actually enjoying the game alongside with how the child enjoys the game. It's a childish game. The father would never sit on his own and play this game, and for sure if he would be playing it for some reason, he would definitely not enjoy it. All of a sudden, when he's interacting with his child, he becomes childlike. Emotionally, he becomes childlike, not just intellectually. So that is the example of the way Hashem constricted himself to interact with us. So he says, line 13, after quoting the Mr. Magid, the Rebbe explains, V'hainu, this means, there's already an existence of a child, a son. Not only is he a son, he is like a young child, a small child, not an adult child that the father interacts with him like an adult. It says that Yisrael is a youth, and I loved him. Nar daike, specifically idea of youth, that indicates the idea of his being a minor, being a child. And he associates this youth aspect, being a minor, with another component of a Yid's minority, literally in his spiritual state as well. That atam ha'ma'at mikol ha'amim, you are the fewest of all the nations. So the simple meaning of atam ha'ma'at means the least amount in numbers. Nations outnumber us, and even individual nations are greater than us in number. But Chassidus explains, Atem hama'at mikol ha'amim, you are also the small one amongst the nations, meaning you have the state of bittul. Bittul is like a child. A child is in a state of bittul. So Hashem's love for us is in our childish state. And for this reason itself, that we are a nar, the pasuk continues, Ki nar Yisrael v'oy haveyu. He loves him because his minor level, because he's small, because he's childlike. And for his sake, for the nar, for the yid. Hashem constricts his brilliance, his brightness. How come? Because love presses the flesh. The same thing, Hashem's love for us, that so that makes him press himself, constrict himself. For this reason, that is the cause. The love of Hashem for us creates the tzimtzum of all the matters of above. Beginning from the tzimtzum of Hashem's very essence. And to such a degree that comes down through many tzimtzumim, through many worlds, like the Baal Shem Tov uses his expression. So first it begins the tzimtzum from Atzmas, and then it keeps on going, multiple tzimtzumim. To such an additional to that, it's not just he does the tzimtzumim as far as we're concerned, but also shat tzimtzum poil shagam ha'av oiseg v'maisa katnos. The tzimtzum affects that also the father is involved in childlike matters. He has enjoyment and delight from this. This itself indicates that here is where the father is found. Vahainu, this means, she'imi yosei av, even though he is the father, he constricts himself, he comes in these childish activities. If he wouldn't enjoy it, if he'd just be doing it, okay, he was left with the job of babysitting his child. His wife went out to the store. So what am I going to do? I got to keep him busy. But he's not really involved in it. But that's not what we're saying. We're saying that the father is enjoying and playing with the child, and he's becomes childlike in his playing with the child. That means that the father is completely there, despite he hasn't lost his state of being a father, but he's still completely invested and present in his child, and in the childishness. And the Rebbe concludes with this: all of this that we're saying, that Hashem comes down even into the childishness of the Yid, is matters primarily to our action in what we actually do. Because action is what's primary. In our general actions and service in this low world, that there's nothing lower than it. Over there in this low world is found the youth that is Yisrael, that for his sake, Hayat Tzimtzum was the constriction for the Yid. Hashem constricted himself. Top of page Lamed Aleph. So now he's going to bring it back to the title of the Maimer, that the Maimer was said, even though it was a continuation of the Legani Maimer and Tavshin Memhei, it was said for Tu B'Shvat Tavshin Memhei. And that over there he started speaking about the 4 Rosh Hashanahs that we have throughout the entire year. Ois Dalet, top of page Lamed Aleph. So to Gambin in Arba Rosh Hashanah, so to concerning the 4 Rosh Hashanahs. We mentioned before that since the Rosh Hashanah, or in that way also the Rosh Chodesh, is just like the head, that includes in it the Chayis of the entire year. And to be able to come down from its general perfect state of being all-inclusive of all the days of the year, then it has to go through a tzimtzum to pass and go from that general, complete, perfect state to every individual day that comes out from it. And so this applies to all the Rosh Hashanahs, not just the Rosh Hashanah, the first of Tishrei, but all the 4 different Rosh Hashanahs that the Mishnah mentions over there. Ad Rosh Hashanah le'ilan shabal lebesof, until the Rosh Hashanah of the tree, that it comes at the end. Now the Rebbe points out, we know that the order in Torah is also a part of Torah, and it's a lesson. So the fact that it's the final one of the 4 Rosh Hashanahs enumerated in the Mishnah also has significance. That this is primarily what matters. The fact that it's the last one indicates that of all the different Rosh Hashanahs that he speaks over there, Rosh Hashanah L'Trumas, Rosh Hashanah L'Lachim, Rosh Hashanah L'Shanim, all these different Rosh Hashanahs, the main thing that matters for our avodah is the final one. The final one shows that this is it. This is the one that we've been waiting for. It matters primarily for our actions and service. So the Rebbe is going to explain the connection between Rosh Hashanah, Le'ilanis, and our service. The idea behind this is the Rosh Hashanah, Le'ilan Kasher, and Ma'adam Eitz Hasana. The Rosh Hashanah for the tree is connected. What we say, the person is likened to the tree of the field. The pasuk says it in a questioning way, but we always learn, the Gemara learns from it, that it's supposed to be said as a statement, that the person is likened to a tree. The Koi al Bnei Yisrael Atam Krim Adam. First of all, it's going on the Yidden because Yidden are called by the title Adam. Al Shem Adam Al, like we said before, because Adam means that they're likened to above, and that is something that's applicable by Yid. B'bnei Yisrael gufe koya ha'adam al eitz hasada al tamid chacham k'dis b'gemara. And by Yidden themselves, the Adam is referring to the Adam being the tree of the field is referring to Talmid Chachamim, like it's brought down the Gemara, that the Talmid Chacham is someone that gives fruit. His Torah learning is considered fruit, just like a tree gives fruit. And that's the type of tree that the pasuk is talking about, that a person may not chop down. So here we find, when we're talking about Adam Eitz Hasada, we're talking about that aspect of Adam as a Yid and Adam as a Talmud Chacham, meaning the combination of both the things of Yisrael and Torah, that for them the world was created. Like we know that the Ber Reishis means Beis Reishis. There's two Reishis for which the world was created. Torah is called Reishis Chachma, Yidden are called Reishis Tuasai. So therefore, both are called Reishis. That has to do with Adam Eitz Hasada. Now, why specifically is the analogy given of a tree? Why is it you'd like it to a tree of the field? Because the primary service of a person is in his emotions, in his character traits. When it comes to his emotions, he could do his avodah completely. As opposed to the intellect, the ultimate avodah, and this will be when Mashiach comes, as we know, that's represented by the three lands of Keni, Knizi, Kadmoni, that the Yidden were only inheriting when Mashiach comes, as opposed to the 7 nations of Canaan. That's the 7 midas that we could do completely nowadays as well. And midas, midas of the person is likened to vegetation, because midas grow from a minor state of a midah, let's say like a lower level in love of Hashem to a higher level of love of Hashem, a lower level of awe of Hashem to a higher level. It's not that we're creating it out of whole cloth. It's a state of growth and improvement. What does this mean in a more general fashion? What is the idea of Tzemeach shows? Then our actions and service has to be the manner of avodah, of a way of increasing and going up in holiness. That means that there's constant growth. Growth is not just a one-time thing. Growth has to be constant. For this concept of giving us the capability of growth, there's one day in the year that's the Rosh Hashanah for constant growth. That from that one day a year, Tu B'Shvat, that there is the head of the year for growth, comes down that in every day of the year I should be able to have growth. Not just that a few days of the year I'm growing, every day of the year I'm growing. And in the growth should be recognizable that he is a person who's a tree of the field. And that it's recognizable that he's likened to above. Because of that he's called Adam, because he's similar to above. And in what type of way is the similarity to above expressed? And he is growing and increasing in the matter of being more and more similar to above. I say the Inyan Zeh, the Rebbe concludes with the bracha mekarim mazaros of Yosef Agula mitzvah shleima. It brings closer and speeds up the true and complete redemption. Shaz yikoyim mashu kasav v'nigash chorish b'koitza. Then will be fulfilled what it says in the pasuk, that the one who is plowing will meet the one that's harvesting. In other words, miraculously, the crops will grow so quickly that before the plower has a chance to finish plowing, the harvesting guy is already there. Kevan Shiyah Inya Tzmicha Baifishal Zrizus, top of the last page, because the growth will be in a way of alacrity and speed. Vachishena Achigdoila, the greatest manner of my speeding it up. This is also accomplished when our actions and service are done in a way of speed and alacrity without delay. Like the Alter Rebbe speaks powerfully in the Geras HaKodesh in the quality of zrizus, of being speedy in performing mitzvahs. That's what stood us by to be a great schus. That said about Avraham Avinu, that the schus of the Akedah is something that the merit stands for all generations. Why? What was the big chiddush of Avram Avinu? Vayashkim Avram b'boker. Not that he did the Akedah because Hashem commanded him. Of course, a lot of Yidden throughout generations gave up their lives for Hashem. But over here, the speed of Avram, Vayashkim Avram b'boker, he didn't delay. He right away got up early to do Hashem's command. So we see the Zrizus is a powerful thing. Through our Zrizus, we affect that the true and complete redemption will be in a way of speeding up. Behold, with the clouds of heaven, action is what's primary. That the redemption should be in this physical world, in a way like the Rebbe always says, mamash. What's mamash indicate? We can actually feel it with our hands, touch it with our hands, it's tangible. Also concerning the promise that the glory of Hashem will come revealed, and all flesh will see together. We won't even need eyes. The flesh itself will see and sense the power of the doer in the thing that's being done, Hashem's power in this world. All this will be speedily in our days. Through the speeding and the true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu now.